Hey everybody, welcome to the Thursday night live stream. Thank you all for being here. My name is Tony. This is Quick Tech Solutions Live, and if you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. And if you'd like to participate in the chat, I do have subscriber mode only on, so you need to subscribe, and then after 5 minutes you'll be able to participate in the live chat as well, so you can contribute in the comments. If you're a returning viewer or a subscriber, thank you so much for being here and supporting the channel as you have done in the past. I do appreciate it. So I got a couple of things I want to share with you tonight, this evening, and some pretty cool, some I don't know. Well, I think they're cool. I don't know if you're going to think they're cool, but I'm going to share them with you anyway. But before we get started, let me know how it looks, how it sounds, if the video and the audio is okay, because I ripped the studio somewhat apart over the last week and a half. I was working on a small project and I put everything all back together to consolidate some things, and I had to change out some wiring and some cables. So I'm hoping it sounds okay, but you guys will let me know for sure. I did run a test earlier, and yeah, so we'll get started. So we got a few people here in the chat. Let me run over to the chat and just greet you guys and say hello, and hopefully a few more people will come in. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It does help out the channel. It does let YouTube know you like the content that we're putting out here. So let's go in and say hello to everybody. Freddie Pons. Hey, Freddie, thank you for joining. I'm watching from my phone. It's great to see you live. Yeah, Freddie, I do try to go live once a month, here or there. I don't have a set day or a set pattern, but I do try to go live once a month on whatever day is available. I try not to step on my fellow YouTubers. So tonight was an available spot, and I know Joe from Controlling Technologies usually does Thursday nights, but I know tonight for a fact he wasn't doing a stream, so I decided to borrow his time slot. So let's see, let's go down the list. Michael Berg. Michael, thank you for joining. I'm glad to see you here. Thank you for supporting the channel. Good evening to you, Zach N. Thank you for joining. Practical IT with Jeremy Like. Jeremy, thank you for joining. And thank you for letting me know that the audio and the video is good. By the way, Jeremy, I wasn't sure if you were doing a stream this evening. So instead of starting at 8 o'clock, I just kind of moved it up to 7 o'clock. I know sometimes you'll do a stream 9 o'clock on Thursday nights, so I won't interfere. Hopefully we'll be done by then, and then folks could go over and see your channel and see your live stream and see what you have in store for us. Michael Berg, thanks, Michael. Michael says 5x5. Freddie says audio and video is good. And DJ Ware says hi and hello to all. All right, cool. So, couple of things. If you haven't heard, if you're a Synology fan and you have a Synology router, you're going to be kind of excited about this news. Let me switch over and bring up this screen. So this morning, and you probably can't see it right here, but it's date stamped right here, June 23rd, 2022. Synology released announced the release candidate for their Synology router management version 1.3.1-9316. Now, version 1.3 came out with their newest router, the RT66AX, which I kind of did a video on a couple of weeks ago. And the updates in this firmware release candidate are minor for that router. However, those of you who have the older MR2200s or the RT2600s, you now can update to this latest SRM once the release candidate becomes available. I think Synology is going to actually make it available on their website later on this week or early next week is what I'm hearing. But the neat thing about this is it now adds a lot of the functionality and networking functionality like VLAN, for example, to those older routers. Now, you're not going to get the Wi-Fi 6 or the 2.5 gig WAN port because Again, that's a restriction of the hardware on those older devices, but you will get a lot of the features that the 6600 is now offering if you upgrade to this firmware. So that's exciting news. And I think the biggest thing for this particular announcement is that those of you, and I had a few people ask me when I did my video on the 6600, well, what if we have the older router? Because there's a feature where you can mesh the devices together. And when the 6600 came out, you were only able to mesh together a 6600 to another 6600. So that said, now with the new release, you can add the older units as mesh points to the 6600, which is really, really cool. Yes, you'll have a mix of Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 5, but again, if you need to get coverage out to the outskirts area of your home, then this might be a good solution for you. If you, let's say you upgraded to that 6600 and you have the old MR2200 or the old RT2600 laying around, now you could add that as a mesh point or a mesh node to the 6600. So that's exciting news. Synology just came out with that this morning. And honestly, I was debating on whether I was going to do this stream tonight or do the stream on Saturday afternoon. And quite honestly, when I saw that announcement, I kind of like pushed me on the teeter-totter to say, hey, let's do it tonight. This way I could at least announce that news in a timely fashion. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'm excited about it. So I hope the Synology router users out there are excited as well. Let's go back to the comments for a second and see if anybody else has joined us. TVJ is here. TVJ says, hello, won't be staying long. Just wanted to say hi. TVJ, I appreciate you stopping in. And then Freddie is just saying hello to Jay. All right. So one more thing I wanted to just bring up before we go on to the main topic, which is my quote manual HDMI matrix. And, you know, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll get to that in a little bit, but I just want to bring the Ubiquiti website up over to the screen for a second, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but over the last couple of weeks, especially in June, Ubiquiti has been actually restocking their store pretty much on a daily basis. I was fortunate enough, I've been on the hunt for EdgeRouter X and EdgeRouter X SFP models for forever. And I finally, you know, was able to I grabbed a few. I grabbed about 4 or 5 of the EdgeRouter X models, EdgeRouter X SFP models last week. And so if we just come on over, if you haven't visited the site in a while, if we click on the Edge routers, now they're all out of stock. But like I said, they are restocking. When they do come in stock, they do sell out in no time. In fact, I found that I was on a notification email, so I would get notification emails when they were restocking, and I would get the email at a certain time in the morning, like around 7:15 in the morning, and it would say that they had the EdgeRouter 4 in stock and the EdgeRouter X in stock and the EdgeRouter X SFP in stock. And by the time I jumped out of bed and jumped on the computer to get over there to order some routers, gone. So, and I did that 3 or 4 days in a row. And then finally, one day I said to myself, you know, maybe there's a delay by the time the email is getting out to me. So one morning I happened to be up. I woke up for whatever reason and I couldn't sleep. And I happened to go check the site at around 5:15 a.m. And lo and behold, there was a whole bunch of EdgeRouter 4s, X's, and XSFPs in stock. So I was able to grab it. Now, I don't know if that's just, there's a delay in getting the email notifications out if you're signed up, but any event, or if it was just pure luck, but in any event, I was happy to snag 4 of them. So again, just looking back at their Unify product line. So like right now they have quite a few access points in stock. Yeah, this filled up from this morning. There wasn't as many there. The UAP AC Pro is out of stock. The Wi-Fi 6 Pro is out of stock, and the U6 Lite is currently out of stock. But they do have a lot of the other units in stock. So you have to check like on a regular basis if you're on the hunt for some Ubiquiti unified gear. You can see here they have the Switch Enterprise 8 PoE currently in stock. The Aggregation Pro is not. So again, here, this one here, the Switch Lite 16 PoE, I was in search of for quite a few weeks, and I finally got frustrated and purchased 2 of the Switch 8 lights, which they were in stock at the time, and you can see now that they're out of stock. But you know, it varies from day to day. So that said, just if you're on the hunt for Ubiquiti equipment, just make sure you're pretty passionate about checking it out on a regular basis. All right, let me just quickly jump back to the comments and see if anybody else joined or said anything. Okay, it looks like we're good to go there. All right, let me get my phone set up because I want to use it as a wireless camera real quick to show you something that I've been working on the last week and a half. Let me just get this to flip and position it. And I think that should be pretty good to go. Hopefully it'll come up. There we go. It's on the screen. I'm going to switch away from my main microphone to the Rode lapel mic. So just give me 1 second. Okay, hopefully you can hear me now. It's going to sound a little different, but it should be good enough to do at least this segment of the live stream. So just let me know. I could monitor the comments. Just let me know if you can actually hear the Rode Wireless Go and if it's sounding okay to do this next set. Anyway, what you're looking at is a rack that I just put together over the last week. Now, that said, why actually you're not seeing it? Let me switch over to it. Hold on 1 second, and there we go. Okay, so now you're seeing the rack that I put together over the last week and a half, and I ended up having to rip my entire studio apart because I had components all over the place. So I got this idea because I wanted to get a HDMI matrix. Thank you, Freddie. It says the sound is okay. And I was originally looking at, let me see if I can just bring this up on the screen real quick. And there. I was originally looking at this matrix here, the 16 by 16 HDMI matrix. It's got pretty decent specs. It's 4K, rack mount, 16 in, 16 out. But I just honestly, if you notice the price tag here, I really couldn't validate or justify in my head why I wanted, or I couldn't justify spending $1,400 for what it was that I need to do, at least at this point in my studio. So that said, why was I looking at a matrix in the first place? Well, because I have more source inputs in the studio here than I have inputs on the ATEM. So I only have, on the ATEM Mini Extreme here, I only have 8 inputs, and yet I have all of them filled up with my main camera, top-down camera, a rear camera, which is this one right over to the left here. I do have an overhead camera that shoots in the front that comes down from the top. It's not the top-down camera that I do unboxings with, but it gets a larger wide-angle view of the studio. You've seen that in some of my videos. And then I have my computer screen, and then number 6 and 7 are my HyperDeck, which is right up here. It's the fill and the key, and then the final input on the ATEM is just the SuperSource background. It's just the Pi that I have up on the back shelf. It's a Pi 3 Plus, and it's just, right now, I'm just utilizing it as a backdrop for when I do SuperSource layouts. But in addition to those 8 sources, I have more. All right, I don't have them patched in yet, but I have more. I have 2 SRT decoders up here. Behind the one Pi in the back, I have a Pi 4 that is an RTMP decoder. So I was scrambling every time I wanted to do something because I have a different setup for depending on what I'm doing. If I'm recording, I use one setup. If I'm doing a live stream, I use another setup. If I'm doing a live stream where I'm bringing in guests, then it's even another extended setup of that original live stream. So I needed to come up with a way to have all my devices accessible to me, but not constantly going under the desk and behind and plugging things in and plugging and unplugging and inserting ports in the back of the ATEM. So I saw this idea online from a YouTuber called DSL Shooter. Under his desk, he mounted 2 patch panels like I have here. Now, he had a wooden desk, so he was able to mount them underneath. I don't have that luxury. This is a glass desk. So basically, I decided I had an old rack laying around, and I put this rack together on the desk, and because I had all the extra space in the rack, I took all the components that were kind of loose on my desk and consolidated them here. I have everything coming through a brush plate down here to keep it kind of neat looking. This is my audio processor, which was on my desk under my iMac for the longest time. Then I have the 2 patch panels. Since I consolidated the HyperDeck Mini Studio and the decoders and the Pis onto a shelf here on this rack, I added this switch here because all these devices up here, including the ATEM, require network access. So that said, what's really happening here? So TrendNet 24-inch patch panels, 2 of them. The top one are all the inputs. So everything up here is patched in HDMI to the back of this patch panel here. Then from here, they're patched into the lower patch panel, and from the back of this patch panel here, they're all going down to the ATEM inputs. Now, for example, you see I have this one hanging out here. This is usually my top wide angle view of the studio. It's unplugged because tonight, specifically for this segment, in fact, I needed to patch in my iPhone, which I'm sending wirelessly to this decoder up here. So this decoder is right here, and I have it patched coming down here and into port number 4 so that I can show this. So it's not really the same as having a matrix like I showed you before where I can switch on the fly, but if I had to set up a show ahead of time like I do tonight, I could just manually patch in. It's almost like an old operator switchboard. It works in that same fashion. You just pull and plug and use the source inputs that you need. Now, I'd rather do all the unplugging and plugging here at the patch panel level than here, because I'm worried about constantly pulling HDMI cables in and out of the back of the ATEM and possibly messing up those ports. So I'd rather mess up an HDMI port here because these are just Keystone female to female HDMI jacks. So if I mess one of these up, I simply pop it out and I replace it. Not a big deal. So that's kind of what I've been working on, and it's not only kind of looks nice, but it's more functional. It's going to save the wear and tear on the ports on the ATEM. It's going to give me more options as far as more sources. And then here I just have, like I said, all of these devices patched into the back. Here I don't have, obviously, HDMI ports. I use RJ45 female-to-female connectors, and they're all these devices are patched into the back and then patched up into the switch so they have network and internet access. So, and then for the ports that I'm not using, just to make it kind of look nice, I use the blank Keystone inserts just to finish it off, and then on the switch, on the ports that I'm not using, I am using what's called an RJ45 blank insert. So let me see if I can bring that up on the screen and kind of show you. So it's this little guy right here, and it comes in really handy. I think I have, let me see if I could pull it up online real quick. I don't know if that's focusing or not. Let me get to, I think I have it here. Yeah, there they are. Let me bring this up. Okay, so what we're looking at here are these dust cover blockout devices, and I use them all the time for ports on my switches that I'm not actually using at the time, especially on installations that I do on site for other people, and especially if there's the network rack is in areas where the closets are dusty and the ports are not being used. These are great. They just plug in and they'll protect the dust and dirt from getting in those open ports. Simple little tool, but I think they're pretty cool. The only problem is I noticed I mean, I don't have tiny fingers, so the only way I can get them out is exactly what you're seeing here, just by using, you know, a set of pliers. So anyway, that's the story with that. And I just wanted to share that with you because for me, it's just made all the difference in the world. And maybe someday I will feel the need to get a rack like the one not a rack, a matrix like the one I showed you earlier. But honestly, again, spending $1,400 for me at this time, it's really just not doable. So anyway, so that's the project that I've been working on, and I'm happy that everything is looking and sounding good. Let me switch back. All right, now I'm back on the regular studio microphone. You'll hear a difference in the sound. I hope you like that. I mean, it was a fun project for me to put together. It's consolidating everything for me because it's like all there now in one shot. And I can leave all my devices connected and on and ready to be patched in, depending on the needs of the show or the needs of the recording that I'm doing. So works out really, really well. This processor right here, is pretty cool. It's only a one mic processor, but it has a compressor, a de-esser, an enhancer, and an expander and a gate. And right now I have all the processing on, and this is what you're hearing. But if I were to turn this off, now you're hearing the same thing, the same studio microphone without any of the processing. And you're probably hearing some slight background noise and a fan running. But anyway, I love this unit, and it's just helps me dial in my sound. All right, so that said, that was a lot. Let me know what you think. Drop some comments down in the chat if you think that was a good idea, not a good idea. I should have spent the $1,400, but I think for me, for now, that's going to work just fine. And I could just keep adding sources if I need. So I'll just make believe I'm a switch phone operator. All right, let's see what we got here. So TVJ is saying, how many devices do you have that are HDMI? Well, all my cameras. So I got the main camera, which is the Canon SL3. I got the top-down camera, which is the Sony a6000. I have the rear shot camera back here, this guy right here. That angle there. That camera is the SL2. I have, which is not connected right now, although I could connect it back in. Hold on one second. I'm going over to my switchboard and I'm going to take out the SRT iPhone. Oh, thank you, DJ Ware. I must have hit the button when I was switching things around. So anyway, this camera that you're looking at now is the Canon XA50, and I do have a second one of those in the storage room that I'm not using. So actually I could add it as an additional source on this patch panel matrix that I came up with here. And yeah, so I have that. And what else? Let's see, I got the SRT decoder, the two SRT decoders, those are both HDMI, and the two Pis are HDMI. The only thing that's SDI right now in the studio is the HyperDeck Mini Studio. So, and I have that going from SDI converters to HDMI converter into the ATEM. So pretty much everything going into my ATEM is HDMI, which is why I was looking at that other particular switcher matrix, because it's HDMI base, not SDI base. The Blackmagic matrices are all SDI based, and it would really mean then taking all of my HDMI devices in the studio and then running them through converters. And I just really don't want to do that. I know I could, but it's just a little bit of a hassle. Too many cables, too many electrical outlets, etc. So anyway, but thank you for your question, Jay. All right, so let's go on. If we don't have any comments or any more to talk about there, let's go on to, oh, real quick. These are the, let me switch over. Here they are. These are the HDMI female keystone couplers that I was talking about that I'm using in the rack. So you can see how they work right here. You can see the HDMI cable going in one side. This is like, say, what's happening on the back of the rack, and then the front of the rack. So it's just patching the two HDMI cables together, and it works out really, really well. So, all right, now, a couple other things I wanted to just share with you tonight, and see what you think. I did get a shipment from Grandstream, and I'm not sure. I know what I was expecting, but I'm not sure what arrived. I did not open it yet. So let me get the box. I figured I would save it to open it live. And I think I'm going to switch over to the other microphone to get this one, the studio mic, out of the way. Okay, so I'm back on the lapel mic. And let me switch over to this view here. You should be able to see my top-down camera now. So I received this from Grandstream 2 days ago. I was expecting the GWN 7660 Wi-Fi 6 access point. They said originally they were going to send me the 7664, but it was out of stock. So they sent me this. They were going to send me the 7660 instead, and along with that, they were going to send me the new Wi-Fi IP phone, the WP822. So I'm not sure what's in here. It's a pretty big box. I'm guessing it's the access point and not the phone, but I could be wrong. But I don't think both are in here because it's pretty light. So let me go ahead and see what's in the box and show you guys at the same time. Oh, actually I was wrong. It looks like I got both. Okay. That's it for the box. Okay, cool. So we got the two boxes here. So let's take a look first at the access point. Obviously, it comes with a manual installation guide, and here it is right here. It's got a pretty nice form factor. It's a little smaller than the 7630, the ones I have in the house. It does say Wi-Fi 6 across the front here. It's got LED lighting here around the rim. On the back, it's got some venting, the slots for mounting, and it's got two ports on the back, two network ports, and this port right here. The second port right here is a PoE port, and these are both 1 gig ports. I know on the 7664, one of the ports is a 2.5 gigabit port, but these are both 1 gigabit. So anyway, it's a nice form factor. Like I said, it's a lot smaller than the 7630s that I have, and the 17615 that I have in the house. And then here's the mounting bracket. So you basically screw it up to the ceiling, and then the device slides into place. I think I have somewhere in the back of the studio in one of the drawers, I have an UAP AC Pro. Let me just grab that and compare the size. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. So actually, I have a UAP AC Lite, which is the same size as the U6 Lite. So you can see here the size difference. It's just slightly larger than the UAP AC Lite and the U6 Lite as far as, height. It's slightly taller. When I say taller, I'm looking at it like that. It's slightly taller than the UAP AC Lite. However, I also do have the UAP AC Pro here, and you can see in relationship to the UAP AC Pro that it's quite a bit smaller. As far as the depth of the height, it's less than the GWN 7630s, but still taller than the Ubiquiti product line. So Ubiquiti does make a nice streamlined form factor access point, but I have to tell you, I wish I had one of the 7630s or the 7615s available to show you the size difference between those and this one. So Grandstream, I have to give you kudos on this. You did a really nice job with that. So, all right, so that's one of them. So what I'll probably do, in the back I have, it's unopened yet, it's for a customer. I have a Wi-Fi 6, UAP, Unify Wi-Fi 6 Pro. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a setup video with this and pair it with my other access points, and then I will probably do a comparison between the Grandstream Wi-Fi 6 7660 and the Unify Wi-Fi 6 Pro. So that's that. All right, next we have the Grandstream WP822. In fact, you know what? Let me just quickly jump over to see if I can bring up the 7660 and some of its specs. Let's go here, let's go there. All right, so here we're looking at the Grandstream website, and this is the 7660 that I just showed you. And it's a 2x2 multi-user MIMO. It's got 1.77 gigabits per second aggregate wireless throughput and 2 times gigabit Ethernet ports. Dual band 2x2 multi-user MIMO, up to 175 feet meter coverage, and it supports 256 concurrent Wi-Fi clients. Again, that's all, you know, specs. In reality, your mileage is going to vary based on a ton of things. Everybody's home is different, offices are different, construction, walls, furniture, everything is different, so your mileage may vary, but I have to tell you, I do like the GWN 7630 and the GWN 7615 access points, and just like those other access points, it has an embedded control that can manage locally up to 50 GWN series APs. So that's pretty cool. Let's switch back and let's take a look at the phone. And then we'll go back to the comments and see if there's anything there. So inside the phone is a rather tiny box. So I'm curious to see the phone. Again, a quick installation guide. This looks like the battery. Let's see if I can just get it open. Again, big fingers make things difficult. There we go. Yep, that is the battery. And that is rechargeable lithium ion battery, model GS02. And it says 200 milliamps, nominal voltage 3.7 volts, limited charge voltage 4.2 volts. So there you go. So that's the battery. Here's the handset. Right here. Nice and sleek. Probably about, I would say 6 inches tall, maybe. Got a nice display here. Battery slides into the back there. We'll have to get this charged up. I'll do a video on this and add it to my 6300 PBX, and we'll test it out and see how it works. Power plug for the base unit here. So cool. Let's take a look at, since we were on Grandstream's website before, let's take a look at the website and look at the specs for the WP822. Let me jump over and bring that page up. There we go. So this is the WP822 portable Wi-Fi iPhone, dual band Wi-Fi with efficient antenna design and advanced roaming support. It supports 2 SIP accounts, 2 lines. It has HD voice and dual mic design with AEC and noise shield technology. Rechargeable 200 milliamp battery. That's interesting because the battery said it was, if I go back and look at it, on the battery itself it said, oh yeah, 2000 milliamps. I'm sorry, that's what I said before. For some reason I thought I said something less. 8 hours of talk time, 200 hours of standby, integrated Bluetooth to connect to headsets, configurable button to push to talk, and micro USB port and 3.5 headset jack. So I'm kind of excited about getting this paired up and set up with my Grandstream PBX 6302. Let me just kind of put all this back in the box real quick. And then we'll go to the comments. Okay, let's see what we got. If anybody has anything to say. Chat's been kind of quiet tonight. Okay, let's see. TVJ says, let me bring this up. TVJ says, do the Grandstream phones work with any SIP provider or are they locked down? When you say SIP provider, Jay, are you talking about, I mean, the PBX will work. I can bring the PBX with, right now I have my PBX with 2 providers, Telnex and, I can't think of the other one off the top of my head, but so yeah, I could link the PBX to any SIP provider, but when you say the phones, link to the PBX. So I'm not sure on your question, you know, clarify that if you want later on, or we can talk offline if you want. But, and then TVJ also says, which brand of APs do you prefer? Great question, Jay. For the longest time, all my clients, I installed the Unify access points, and I had good luck with them, and I installed them because they worked, and it was simple for me. There were no callbacks ever. There were never any problems. But about 2 years ago, I got turned on to the Grandstream access points, and I have them in my home, and I've been putting them now in a couple of other client locations. And again, I am just as happy. I haven't had a chance to test or play with the Grandstream Wi-Fi 6 access points yet, so I'm looking forward to that. But either or is solid. I mean, really, depending on who you talk to, they'll say, you know, Grandstream blows away Unify. But again, I think it's all dependent upon the use case and the installation. And let's say management, ease of management, because a lot of times with the Unify stuff, with having everything in the one pane of glass, it's easy to kind of hand off the management to the client. And with the Grandstream, everything is in a separate pane of glass. Like here in my own home, I have an edge router, I have all Unify switches, and now I have all Grandstream access points. So I don't have everything in one pane of glass. I manage the router through the router's user interface. I manage the Unify switches through the SDN controller, and then I manage the access points through the main. Of the 3 access points in my house, one gets designated as a main and the others are slaves. And I manage the access point and all the wireless through that main master, GWN 7630. So that said, you know, it all depends on the use case and the situation. I'm highly unlikely to do a setup like I have here in my house. If I had to turn it over to the client to manage, I'd more likely lean towards the Unify side. So I hope that answered your question. And Jay says, do you need a PBX or can you use a SIP provider like Ring Central? That's a good question, Jay, and I don't know. I'm going to have to get back to you on that because I have not used any cloud-based providers like that. I've always had a PBX prior to having the Grandstream 6302. I used to have free PBX running on a Linux box. So I don't know. I'm going to honestly say I don't know the answer to that, but I will get back to you on that because that's an excellent question. All right. So I think that's all the comments. I do have, let me see, how are we doing on time here? I felt like I ran through that that rack so fast because I felt like there was so much I wanted to cover on it. But let's see, we're at 48 minutes. Okay, I got one more thing I want to unbox for you. And it's kind of a weird thing. And I'm going to stay on the lapel microphone because this is a big box. First, let me just take a quick drink. Okay, so I have, let me just pop over to the overhead cam now. And I'll just give you a single shot on this, not the super source. I have this LED solar street light. It's made by a company called Endurance Lights. And the reason I have this is I received an email from them about 3 weeks ago asking me if I wanted to receive a product from them to review. And I'll be honest with you. When it comes to doing stuff like that, I'm very reluctant. In fact, I usually just throw most of those emails right in the trash. I get a ton of them a day, and a lot of times I'm not intrigued with the product. One time, about 2 years ago, I did say, "Oh, sure, let me review your mesh access, your wireless mesh system," and I don't know. It was just, I thought it was going to be good, and I just decided I wouldn't do anything like that anymore unless it was from like a reputable vendor like a Grandstream or a Ubiquiti or Synology or something like that. So every day I wake up, I check my emails, and I get tons of emails from vendors wanting to send me stuff, and they go usually right in the trash. For some reason, when I got this email, it just intrigued me. I don't know that I really have a use case for an LED solar street lamp, but I had to say yes because it was just, my curiosity was aroused. So I was forthright with the vendor, and I did say, listen, I don't know that I have a use case. They were hoping I would do an actual installation of it, and I said, I'm not really sure that I want to mount this and drill into the brick of my house. So maybe I will do something temporary, like on a 2x4 or something to that end. And I will talk about it and show it in a live stream. And then once I test it and play with it, maybe I told them I would do a follow-up video on it. But I am really intrigued with this, and it is a 90-watt solar street lamp according to what it says here. And when I checked out the website, it says it was 9,000 lumens. So that was pretty interesting. So let me go ahead and open it. As you can see, it's sealed. I haven't opened the package either. I figured I would wait for the live stream. Again, it's interesting to me. It's not really a piece of networking tech, but I just thought, yeah, something about this intrigued me. So yeah, it couldn't hurt, right? All right, so okay, I don't really see nothing else in the box. Let's see what we got here. All right, so let me grab my handy dandy glasses, and this is just a troubleshooting guide, remote instructions. It does come with a remote control, which I think is kind of cool, and a mounting bracket to the pole. They did send a pole as well, and that pole is right here. Let's get it out of the plastic and I'll show you. So it did come with this pole. It looks like it's about 1 7/8 inch pole. So again, I'm not so sure I want to mount this directly on the brick of my house. Hey, I tell you what, if it really works and it works well, I might put it in the backyard. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, it did come with the pole. Again, instruction setup, and like here it is. So here's the light itself. You can see here's the bracket to fasten it, put the pole in here and fasten it to the pole. Let's see what the back of it. Oh, this is not the light. This is the actual solar panel. And then these are the lights. Here we go. All right, so it's got 3 LED lights. They look like they're about 3 inches by 5 inches. On-off switch. And it says here radar induction. And I'm not really quite sure, again, what that means. I haven't done any research on this. I just figured I would open it live on the stream and show you guys. So let me bring up, I think I have their website up here. We can take a closer look at some of the specs, I guess. Okay, so this is it. This is endurancelights.com. I don't know, let me know in the chat if you've heard of them. I haven't prior to receiving their email. So, but it said our 90-watt LED solar street lights offer a nice easy wire-free solution to provide outdoor lighting Let's go on to some of the features. Easy to install. Motion sensing dims low light until light dims low light level until motion detected. Remote controlled timer. Oh, that's cool. You can set the timer to stay on for intervals of 2, 3, and 4 hours. Auto mode turns off in the evening. Brighter than ever. Endurance lights is capable of illuminating up to 9,000 lumens at full power, super bright. Weatherproof construction. Color temperature ranges between 6,000 and 6,500 Kelvin. 180 super bright LEDs and 5 lighting modes. So there's motion detection, always on, 2-hour timer, 4-hour timer, and a 6-hour timer. And the battery size that comes with it is a 12,000 milliamps. So that's it. Let me see if what it shows in the pictures. So here it's showing multiple ones lighting up a walkway. And again, the on-off switch and the radar induction. And then there's how it gets mounted to the actual pole. So in any event, let me switch over back to the regular mic. In any event, I thought it was a pretty interesting product. Again, I have to figure out exactly what I'm going to do with it, so at least I can satisfy the vendor and do a video on it. But I hope it works, though. I really do. I hope it works, and I hope it's nice and bright. And I'd like to see how it works with the remote control and the timer features. So I'm going to be getting this set up temporarily somehow in my yard, and then I'm going to be giving it a good test and see what I come up with. So anyway, something different. I thought maybe you guys would enjoy that. Again, it's not kind of the typical thing I do on this channel, but hey, it does have some technology involved, right? So in any event, I think that's everything I wanted to show you. Let's go back to the comments and see if there's Jay, I think you're like the only one here, even though it says there are concurrent viewers. I think like you're the only one here. All right, so Jay says, well, that is interesting. Do you have any need to light the outside of your house? Well, yeah, I do actually. When we did build this house, we asked the builder to put a spotlight in the rear corner of the house, and they never did that. So I don't have any lighting out back. And I do have 4 chihuahuas. So when we do let them out at night, it would be nice to have some light on the backyard to see them and also make sure that I can keep them safe from, any other wild animals that may be preying around. So yeah, I do say I have a need. I just don't know that a 9,000 lumen street light is the answer. I could probably just get away with like a regular motion light. But I don't know. Like I said, I got that email and it intrigued me, so I wanted to test it out and get it sent here and give it a run for its money. So anyway, let's see. We are going on about 58 minutes, and that for me is a decent stream. Does anybody have any questions? Is there anybody else out there besides TVJ? Let me know now. Let me share the channel. TVJ, thank you for being here. Let me share your YouTube channel. Check him out. TVJ works in television broadcasting, and he does cool videos on broadcasting centric information. So here's a link to TVJ. Practical IT. Jeremy, you're still here, so yeah, it does. I think the light is kind of interesting, Jeremy. I mean, hey, they wanted to send it to me. So here's a link to Jeremy's channel. Jeremy does great content on a lot of Linux stuff. And a lot of times it's over my head, but I do learn something every time I watch Jeremy's channel. So thank you very much, Jeremy Like. And let's see. DJ Ware is here. DJ Ware is also another YouTuber that does great Linux content. And for sure, DJ Ware, the stuff you do is way over my head. But again, I do pick up bits and pieces. So thank you. Zach says, yep, still here. And I think it's nice to have some new interesting stuff from time to time. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And thank you for sticking it out, Zach. I know it was kind of a plethora of different topics tonight, but for me, I really was excited about that rack. It didn't start out to be a rack. The idea started out just to be the two TrendNet patch panels with the ability to switch my sources so that I can use sources on the fly like a manual matrix. But then when I realized I didn't have anywhere to hang or mount the two patch panels because I have a glass desk, I went and pulled out the old rack, and then it kind of snowballed from there. I said, since I have the rack, let me add the audio processor, and let me add the switch, and let me buy a shelf, and I put the shelf in there so that I can put the decoders and the HyperDeck Mini Studio and the Pi's up there and just consolidate everything. So it started out as just I needed a way to be able to have access to all of my sources all of the time. And it just kind of snowballed into having this rack on the side of my L desk. So anyway, DJ Ware says, does the Grandstream Wi-Fi support WPA2 Enterprise? You know, off the top of my head, DJ Ware, I'm going to say I'm going to get back to you on that. Again, I just got the device, so I haven't really explored or dove into it. I will say this. I will say that Grandstream is known for putting their voice over IP over their wireless access points. They're known for that. So I would imagine that their Wi-Fi IP phones do support WPA2 Enterprise, and I will look into that, and I will drop the answer to that down in the comments of this video in the next day or so. That's a great question. I'm sorry I don't know the answer off the top of my head. TVJ says, gotta go, time for a boat ride. Excellent. I wish I was there. Anyway, what kind of boat you going on, Jay? Freddie Pond says, please hit the like for Tony. Yes, thank you, Freddie. I appreciate that. And let's see. David Grishko, welcome. If you're just joining, we're just about to wrap it up, but thank you for stopping in and saying hello. If you want to watch the replay, I put together a rack with two TrendNet patch panels, and I made a matrix switcher out of it. We looked at Grandstream 7660. I just got it. I unboxed it. We looked at the WP822 Wi-Fi voice over IP phone from Grandstream. We also looked at a street lamp, a solar street lamp remote control that I got from Endurance Lights. So in any event, if any of that interests you, David, check out the replay. Thank you, DJ, for attending. And I guess, folks, on that note, I'm going to say thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. If there was any new viewers here, please consider subscribing. Once again, I want to thank you and for spending Thursday night with me. And like I say to you at the end of every one of my videos, we'll see you all next time.